Growing up, I don't remember seeing that many successful marriages around me. Even when couples looked happy on the outside for a while, later on, behind closed doors, pain starts to surface out, and we start hearing stories. And I remember hearing men say things like, "You better treat me right. I can always bring another wife." Sometimes they said it jokingly, but those jokes often came true because in our culture and according to Islamic law, he could. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Missing Pieces Show. I'm your host, Asma, and in this episode, I want to talk about marriage. What I saw growing up, what I believed, and what I later discovered in scripture about how God designed marriage to be. Growing up in a community where marriage was everything for a woman, it's the biggest achievement. It didn't matter how educated you were, how successful you were. If you weren't married by, let's say, mid 20s, the question starts to surface. When are you getting married? The train is passing, and the pressure was real. You could have everything, a good job, good reputation, but if you didn't have a husband, it's like something was missing. I've seen women accepting to get married just for the sake of their age, even when they know that this marriage is going to come with trouble and is going to be maybe a bad situation, but they would accept just so they can get married. I've seen women in my own family, strong women, who suffered silently in their marriage. I saw my own mother struggle in her marriage. My dad was barely at home. He was absent in her life and in my life in so many ways. And she always tried to love and care for his family and for everyone and for him. But no matter how much she gave, it was never enough. Even my strong mother, who fought for women's rights and justice, she knew she was replaceable. One of my relatives, her husband, who is my uncle, used to beat her up. There were times he hit her so bad, she would hide under the kitchen counter. And her kids will watch in fear. And she stayed for years. So she believed she had to endure it for her children. It was until her children really grow up that they were able to fight back and protect her from their dad. She died from heart problems. And I do believe that from a lifetime of a heartbreak. Sad stories. Now, not every story is like this in Islamic world. Some marriages looked loving and respectful, but even in the good ones, there was always this unspoken truth. The woman is replaceable anytime. The man can divorce you with one word, طالق, and it's done. If a woman wants to leave, she has to go through a whole process. She has to actually return all his gifts, whatever gifts he has given her. So if you got married for 5 years and all these gifts, she has to return the gifts. She has to return the dowry. She has to prove her case. But a man can leave anytime. It's like a contract where one side can cancel anytime and the other has no say. In America here, mostly, most of companies will always add this in their contract saying the company can fire you for any reason or no reason. That's how Islamic marriage often felt. You can be replaced at any time. Even when men joke about taking a second or third wife, you feel that fear inside because you know they actually can. And when I started asking questions, I realized it's not just about culture. It's in the text. The problem is not that, oh, men are just being disrespectful for the women, disobeying God. No, this is permitted in the Islamic text. Men is given the permission to replace a woman for a reason and for no reason as he wishes. The Quran allows men to have up to 4 wives. It says men can be in charge of women, not to lead in a way that, in Christianity also, the Bible talks about men should be the covering of their wives and lead the household. We're not talking about that kind of lead. We're talking about he can strike you. He can hurt you and beat you. Now, there's a lot of imams. There are some shows where women calls and ask questions, and the imams always try to kind of play down that verse in 434. And no, it's like, it's not, he's gonna beat you like with marks. Like he should beat you lightly. If you disobey, the beating should be light, no marks. So you can see this is not just a cultural thing. And when you grow up under that, you start to believe your value as a woman is conditional, that your worth depends on how well you serve and please this man. There's a hadith that Muhammad says, if I am God, I would let women worship their men. And if you deny your husband, in the hadith says, and your husband, let's say your husband passed away, and you deny the husband, you will not even smell heaven. That means you're going to hell if you deny your husband and your husband passed away. So there's no time to ask forgiveness or anything like that. So if he dies and he's mad at you, you will go to hell. Guarantee. This is not a myth. These are in the text. This is not just, oh, no, my husband wouldn't do that, or this person wouldn't do that. Yes, there are people that are way better than the Islamic text. They are treating their wives very well. And not because they're following the Islamic text, it's because they're not following the Islamic text. Because if their women disobeying, they're not disciplining her by doing all of these steps that were listed in the verse to the point of hitting her. He's just choosing not to do it. But the Islamic texts are allowing him to do it. So there's a difference here. You see, what I found reading the Bible is different. Marriage is not just a contract with an expiration date that will be determined by the husband. It's a covenant, a sacred promise before God. Genesis 2:24 says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. It's not, I owe you and you can be replaceable if you're not doing and performing well. It's we are one. And God calls both husband and wife to mutual love and respect. Ephesians 5:21 says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then he tells husband not to control, not to dominate, but to love their wives as Christ loved the church. He sacrificed for the church and he gave himself for her. That's a love, that sacrifice, that serves, that protects. In Christianity, a husband isn't your master. He's your partner, your equal. And both of you enjoying the grace of Christ. First Peter 3:7, it says, husbands, treat your wives with respect. That's the kind of love he wants for us from the beginning. One that reflects his relationship with us, not one based on fear and control or conditions. Jesus said marriage is sacred, and divorce wasn't part of God's plan except for the unfaithfulness. It's not something to throw away easily, because marriage reflects God's faithful love to us. So when I looked back and I realized in Islam, marriage is a contract that can be ended anytime. And in Christianity is a covenant that mirrors God's eternal love. When I saw what God says about marriage, I realized how much he values women. He doesn't see us as half-minded, half-religious. He sees us as his daughters, made in his image, fully loved and complete in him. And I wish my mother and my relative who endured so much could have known that she was worthy of love. Because marriage in its truest form was never meant to break us. It was meant to show the love of God. If you've ever felt replaceable, if you've ever been hurt in the name of religion, I want to tell you, God sees you and he's inviting you to something deeper. He's inviting you to a relationship that's not based on fear, but one love, not a contract, a covenant, not a temporary promise, but an eternal one. So I invite you today, come to know your true love. Come to know the one who never replaces you, never abandons you, never stops loving you. That's the love of Christ. That's the true marriage of the soul between the bridegroom and his bride. Thank you for listening. This is Esma. God bless.